Well, you know what it's time for? It's time for me to catch up with myself and do the next lot of Thomas collection videos. I've got some amazing items here. A lot of this stuff has come from the ladies down the road at the charity shop. They are absolutely amazing in what they've hauled in, and we're going to look at this very, very carefully. I'll most probably break this up into a couple of videos. It's just too much to look at in one video. There's too much awesomeness to be spoken about. So let's do it. Well, the first cab off the rank is a really, really important one if you're a Thomas collector. It's the TV game, 2006. It's got as a licensing info on the bottom, and it plays a very, very basic graphic Thomas game, which is actually a whole bunch of fun to play. And I've got a Thomas take and play just there, just to show you the size of this Thomas. It's almost a Thomas worth a video all to itself, but I can't get my head around the copyright restrictions in relation to showing gameplay on YouTube. I'm sure there'll be many die-hard Thomas fans who would have had this game in the past. It was one of those games that you plugged into the front of your TV by those sockets there, and it had an on and off switch here on the buffer, and you could select the menu here as the other buffer knob, and you controlled Thomas around the tracks by a steam stack here, and there was a button here for picking up things along the way. You needed to put AA batteries inside here to make it work, and what I could only describe the graphics to me was a little bit like the old Atari games, the 1990 Atari games. It was very retro-ish in the way it plays, and what's funny is that my son loved playing this even though it was very retro-ish. He just thought it was a fantastic little game. He played it for about 3 days straight. But I think it just goes to show that no matter what low-end graphics you've got, if you've got something which is fairly popular running around, it's going to work. And what I like about this Thomas is that it's got that thing that I always talk about, that little splash of white that makes all the difference. Well, next up is a Thomas Plush, and this one is licensed for 2009. It's actually very different to my other Thomas Plushes. It's got some very, very furry area for where the coal is, and it's sort of all squashed up, but it still looks rather cute, and I like the face. And once you see it up against my 2007 and 2010 plushes, you can see why this new one is so special to me. Well, next up are two TOMY products. They are from 1998. They are quite large. You can see there's a little take and play Thomas there, and what's really nice about these is Annie and Clarabelle are attached along for the ride. This toy uses 3 little button batteries in here, and it's got some wild wonky wheels which give it a really wild looking ride. This is a pretty noisy toy when it's up and running. Anyway, you can get the drift of what this toy gets up to when it's running amok. And I know someone's going to say, Leo, why didn't you show us Annie and Clarabelle's faces? Well, there they are. And in no way are these toys young or spring chickens, but I tell you what, it's a fantastic testimony to the incredible toy company that TOMY is. I'm constantly impressed with the toys that I've got in my Thomas collection, which come from TOMY. Well, this next item really isn't a train, it's a music box of sorts. It's what babies would have to calm themselves. And it still works. It's a 2005 product. Sounds like it's playing Yankee Doodle Dandy. What does Yankee Doodle Dandy have to do with Thomas and Friends? If you had one of these, fess up, let's hear if you had one of these in your bedroom when you were a baby. Does this bring back all sorts of great memories for you? Well, the next items come from the early 90s, and you can see the size of them compared to that take and play. I think the Thomas one says 1991, and I think the James one says 1994. Anyway, that is a long time ago. It doesn't, you know, some people might say, oh, it was only yesterday. It was actually a long time ago, guys. And I'd say these were bubble bath or shampoo at some time. So who out there had these in their bathroom back in the early 90s? And what's interesting about items like this is the sort of stuff that would get thrown away. And to have this in my collection is a bit of a jewel for me, because I'm pretty sure there wouldn't be many of these floating around. It might be a bit tricky to see, but it's got quite a interesting face on this Tomas, and the way it's been moulded. And I'll tell you what, is there something that the Tomas Empire didn't turn into a toy or a piece of merchandise? It's absolutely amazing what I've been finding of late. Well, this next one is a very large TOMY product. It's one of the ones which would have had a push-along stick at the back, but the stick's gone. This is the second one I've got of these, and what is sort of interesting with these is this one doesn't work, all the sound chip in it doesn't work either, so I've got two of these and yet to find out what sounds this Tomas made. Just looking underneath, there's three of those little button batteries there, and obviously some sound comes out of this when it's moving, but that's a mystery to me. The other one of these that I've got is up in the house and my son plays with it, and I can assure you that this thing is as tough as nails, and again it's testimony to the TOMY toy company. This next Tomas is rather a suave looking one. It's a 2006 and the brand is Mega. A few mysteries surrounding this Tomas because I don't know what its real purpose in life is, but there's one thing I like about this Tomas, and it really lifts it compared to a lot of others, and that is that splash of white does it to me every time. That's the info that I see underneath this toy, and that may reveal what it is to some people. On the rear axle is this rather strange large gear. For some reason I'm thinking Play-Doh or plasticine, I don't know why. And if I lay it down, there's a few other interesting parts. It opens up. I can't see if anything else comes out of this. I don't know what would go in there. And if I close it back up, well, there's Tomas looking like a normal little Tomas again. As you can see, it's quite a large Tomas. It's actually a very impressive Tomas visually, but the mystery remains is what it did in its life, and I'm sure someone somewhere out there is going to tell me. Well, this piece here is Knapford Station. It's 2008 and it's take along. Yes, I said take along. And I've got some friends riding inside if I open it up. And there's a bit of a sound feature as well. And hidden inside is a 2002 James, but he is tenderless. I sort of like this because he's all metal on top. Looks lovely as well. And I've got a 2004 Arthur, and this is a very, very different beast to the Arthur that you would buy today. This thing is really heavy. There's a lot of metal in this. It's actually nice that they've lightened up the toys, because if this was a missile and thrown across your room, it could do a lot of serious damage to your very large TV if you were very unlucky. There's a little sound feature in here, which I'm not sure is incorporated in today's version of this toy. I know this toy is still available. All sorts of sounds actually, don't mind this. I'm trying to get it to the Tomas anthem. Actually quite a few sounds in this thing. Ah, the Tomas anthem. Comes another DMCA for my channel today. There's also a light feature up here. I need to turn nearly every light off to see it. It's very faint. And at the rear here there's a part we can join track on, and there's another area where if you've got a carpet Tomas, your trains can come in off the carpet and go to the station. I actually quite like the detailing in this toy. It's a shame I haven't got today's version to do a harder comparison. I dare say my audience will have some words to say on that. And it's got a little bit of battle damage on the front. I'll call it the gate here. You see it's broken at the top there. Still making sounds. Lovely piece, I like it a lot. And I better show this up because there'll be someone out there saying, oh, but it can't be a take along. Well, that's what it says underneath. Tomas and Friends, Take Along 2008, Gakken Tomas Limited. And while we're thinking take and play and take along, there's a whole bunch of track. Yeah! There's some pieces here I've never seen before. This is called a 2.5 inch RFT. Whatever that stands for. I'm calling it a carpet to take along or take and play, depending on what era you're with. There was also this, what they're calling a 2-inch special curved track with ramp. It's basically flat on that end, and it goes up to a bit of a, well, what would you call it, thickness at the other. Strange piece. I don't know what it was used for. And there are a couple of these pieces which are really important if you want to go from the old style track to the new style. I really don't know why they changed to this new style track. Maybe someone can explain to me. But every time there's a track change, you need things to join different pieces of track, like this one. And there was this most unusual circular track piece marked 2008. And if I unclip the top here, I can open it up. And we've got a circle track, and if I move that around there, I've got a tunnel there. And what is most interesting about this piece is it's got like a Thomas trampoline in the middle. Boing, 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 boing. It's a piece of cloth, which has got some printing on there. Anyway, I've never seen that before. 2008. Maybe you guys know about it. Maybe you don't. I've got a funny feeling if I put Thomas there, watch this special little trick. And as I come in to unfold this and do it up, whoa! There we are. Thomas is inside there, and now that really is something you can take along. There he is. He's in there, he can't get out. Off to your next party. Well, this next piece is an amazing playset. Unfortunately, there's a major component missing, and it comes from the 2004 era of Thomas and Friends merchandise. It's in a very tricky area to see, but there's info about this toy. Gakken Toy Hobby was the company behind it. And if you're a small boy and you had this toy, you had the whole world at your fingertips here. You can control this whole playset via these buttons, levers and knobs. Well, Bulstrode is here and I can control him. There's a lever there to make him move backwards and forwards. You gotta love Bulstrode's face. What's he thinking there? Cranky's here, but he doesn't do much apart from looking a little bit cranky. Harvey's here along for the ride. Thomas is here up to his usual tricks. And Harold's here as well, and I think Harold's job was meant to pick up a character and fly whoever to the top of the playset. But unfortunately the part that Harold's meant to be connected to is missing. I think Thomas is stranded up there now. And the part that would fly Harold would be in there, but I don't know what it looks like. And it would make a sound like this if he was there. There's 2 steep descents on this playset. Let's see if I can get this to work. Struggling there a bit, and it's stopped there. We can make believe it's working. Gets to there, and if I hit the right button here, I can send Thomas on his way. I think it's this one. Oh, he's on a turntable. Wrench. Well, I could send Thomas on another magical descent. Going down all the way to Bulstrode. If I hit the Bulstrode lever, which is this one here, down to the bridge, hit the bridge, down to, oh, crashed into Harvey. Well, I think you can get the gist of this playset. I think it's excellent. Obviously, it would need to be kept very clean. It's a bit dusty, and I think that's why the trains are hanging up on this. But I like it. It's really sad that there's a part missing, which makes it, well, inoperative in a sense. I don't care how old you are, but there's something about pushing buttons, turning wheels, pulling levers that is enjoyable. And there you can see the size of the Thomas in that playset compared to a take and play. And what is interesting about this is the rollers underneath. I've given him a spray of silicone spray, but it wasn't enough to stop him from hanging up. He's probably still a bit dirty. But nevertheless, it is a wonderful little Thomas. Well, I've shown quite a few items in this episode, and you know what? I've barely made an indent into the Thomas and Friends items that I had on my table. I'm going to leave this episode off here, and I will pick up on a new episode because there is still lots to look at and lots to talk about with these toys. And there's a whole bunch of stuff on the floor that you haven't seen as well, and I don't even know if you're ever going to see it. There's just so much stuff. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will pick up on the rest of this collection in the next episode. I better warn you, this is quite a loud toy. Let me demonstrate it for you. Oh. Thomas is here up to his usual tricks. Thomas is here up to his usual tricks. Thomas is here up to his usual tricks. And Harold's here, but the part he's connected to is missing. Part of the playset is totally missing, and I think Harold's meant to pick a character up. Come on. But I think he comes along, picks a character up, takes them for a fly, and puts them up the top of the playset, I think. Well, not like that, but you know what. Go Thomas. Down to Bulstrode, and if I hit the Bulstrode button, if I remember which one it is, oh, it's the lever here. Fail.